guys, Formerly Cool Dad here. This one is going to be fun. This video is going to be about some fun, crazy things that I've done that nobody really knows about, that I have to get off my chest. As a new dad, things have happened. I've done some crazy stuff, covered some things up. Nobody really knows what happened or the truth. Some of the things I've never even told my wife, so she's not allowed to watch this video. So this one my wife knows about. One of the worst experiences of my entire life. No joke. It was one of the worst things I've ever had to endure. So we had a 6-month-old at the time. We decided to drive cross country from Michigan to New Mexico, which is a 23 hour drive. So once we arrived, my wife had some friends in a town that was 2 hours away from where we were staying with my aunt and uncle. So they lived in Silver City. We went down to Las Cruces, which is about a 2 hour drive. So all our things that we brought with us to that, we're going to go to lunch and meet up with my wife's friend. Everything has to fit in a diaper bag. You need to have everything. Food, snacks, change of clothes, everything. Because you are not near home and you need to have everything with you. And I was like, darling, I got it. I'll take care of it. I packed the bag, no problem. I sure did pack the bag. We get to the restaurant, and little guy's getting hungry, so we're like, oh, let's make a bottle. So we usually carried those pre-made, you unscrew the top and you literally just pour it in. They're fantastic. The pre-made formula bottles, my wife was, we were going with formula, so that's what we went with. And so they were simple. You just unscrew it, pour it in. Or another backup we were carrying during the trip was we had the powder solution in little containers, and we had a jug of water, so you just blend it all in the milk, shake it out, give the baby his bottle. Oh, so we're in the restaurant. Okay, let's open through. We'll get the, I can't find the pre-made formula. Oh my God, we're looking through everywhere. I'm like, all right, well maybe I brought the powder formula. I was like, I swore I had it all out. I put it in. Nothing was in the freaking diaper bag. Nothing. So anyone who understands a newborn, when they are hungry, they will scream relentlessly until they get fed. And then they will scream louder and progressively louder and lose their mind, sobbing until they get their meal. My wife was just furious. So she ended up having to leave the restaurant, drive to the local Walmart, which was about 10 minutes away, go find some formula to bring back to the restaurant, then feed our baby. And I wasn't allowed to return with her. I had to sit in the restaurant while she was out looking for the formula as a punishment, basically, so she could not go to jail for murder for killing me, for making such a stupid mistake. So the entire time my wife was gone, I was that guy at the patio of a Mexican restaurant with a screaming baby, inconsolable. You can't give him toys to distract him enough. My son was losing his mind. The waitress was asking, is there anything we could do, because frankly you're scaring customers away. And I was like, all right, so I'll wait outside while I'm holding the baby, just begging him to please stop crying. He never stopped crying. So for 45 minutes I basically sat there with a kid who had no food, and my wife eventually returned, and we made a bottle, and all was well. But it was, when you're just starting to go out and you have the baby, you don't want to be a bother. You don't want to interrupt people, because you're like, hey, they know I have a baby, and I don't want to be that guy who has the screaming kid who can't stop him. And I was that guy who had the screaming kid and probably ruined everybody's lunch. So that was a life lesson, huh? Always double check the diaper bag packing. But I had to share that one because that was one of the worst experiences of my life with the babies, and it was just always plan ahead. So on this one, I was exhausted, not minding my way here. As you know, when you have a newborn, you're kind of just floating through life and hoping to survive and keeping the kid alive. And so on this one, I was walking with my son on my right arm, I think, or my left arm, whichever one it was. And I was he was screaming. I'm just trying to run back and forth throughout the house and make sure I could put out another fire with my other son screaming, needing something. So I'll help him, running with my little baby, and clank, right in the door frame, smacked his head. He's screaming. I'm like, ooh. So it happens. Everyone's gonna accidentally bonk their kid's head or hit them on a little surface and not knowing, how much room you have on either side. So it happens. That's the basic. That's one of them. The next one is a pretty funny one. Once or twice, my son, while we're driving around having a good old time, you just hear, and just, what's going on. They're grunting, they're like squirting some things out, they're getting things going, and you're like, oh God, we're 45 minutes away from our house, we cannot stop to pull over. So I don't. So I've driven home knowing my son needs a diaper change, because I don't want to do it on the side of the road or in the trunk or in a rest area or a restaurant. Usually those are lovely with the fold down kangaroo little, whatever they're called, the little tables that are in the bathroom that you can change them there. It's exhausting to do it that way. So I just find my way home and then change them then. So that's, my wife is not aware of that one. So that's a good one. So hopefully you enjoyed that last one. That was a good one. The next one was it's short and sweet, but so when I had a newborn, you do night feedings. So we had bottles, and you go down and make a bottle, and you come back up, and you're ready to go. Baby can be fed. So initially, when I had the newborn, I wasn't really good with dealing with the stress. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. Oh my God, I gotta get the bottle in him, calm him down, and let him get ready. So I'm like, it was like a race to me. So I kind of was like rushing around. I forgot to screw the bottle lid on. So I was like, oh, I got the bottle, nice 200-ounce bottle, or 8 ounces, which was it, the 240 milliliters. So I got the full bottle. We're ready to put this little guy back to sleep. All right. I lay him down. Boop. No lid. The lid wasn't screwed on, so I basically baptized my son in his bottle, and that woke him up even more so. So then I got a screaming baby who is drenched. I have to now clean everything up in the room because, as you know, it stinks to high heavens, the formula. Basically trying to get Lysol wipes, trying to get everything cleaned up, dried off, get him changed now. So a quick little bottle, calm, peaceful, nice, pleasant experience turned into a nightmare, and basically me trying to frantically do everything in pitch black, and he woke up and I had to sit a couple hours just to calm him back down, to put him back down. So always make sure you screw the lid on. But as a newborn father, you're going to be exhausted. You're going to make mistakes. So it happens, right? But it's just a fun story I like to share that I never really shared with my wife or told anyone. I just kind of was like, oh yeah, he got up a couple times last night. Anyway, all is well. So that's the good one. So this one may get me in trouble. My wife and I, when we had the newborn, believe it or not, you're going to bicker. And so my wife was always like, let me help over the night. And I was like, no, I got it. You go to bed. You don't listen. You go right to sleep and get some rest. And I was kind of a jerk about it in probably a smart-ass way, and kind of was saying, nope, I got it. I don't need your help. Just leave me alone. Go to sleep. No sooner than 20 minutes after saying that, I'm inside my baby's room, and he had just pooped. And I'm like, oh my God. Everybody who knows and has a newborn, you have to wait 5 minutes because, as you know, the first wave is usually not the last wave. So, as I'm like, oh, he pooped. Let me just change him up. Take the old diaper down. I got wave 2, which was explosive diarrhea, all over my face, my chin, my shirt. Just a mist of lovely, lovely poop. As I'm like, what in the heck just happened to me? I'm in shock. A nice little golden stream just hit me right in the face. That was like, okay, let's just regroup here. As I'm like, okay. So I'm like trying to get him up, as it's everywhere. So I'm trying to basically clean my hands off, clean my shirt off. So I'm like stripping down. Now it's a party. I'm taking everything off. And I'm like, okay, this is miserable. So I basically cleaned him up as best I could. My hands are covered in now poop and pee, and I'm sitting there like, oh dear God, this is lovely, right? I then finally get it all to a hamper, and then basically throw it in the washer machine to make sure everything gets washed up. As I pick up my son, I'm like, all right, now let's get him all changed up and ready to go. So as I'm taking my son up, I basically have him over my shoulder to get him changed. He basically projectile vomited all over me. And I'm telling you, like, if I hadn't turned my face, it would have been in my mouth. It was disgusting. It was just like covered. So now I've got poop, pee, vomit all over me. He's screaming. He's basically a mess. And I'm just like close to tears, just like, this is it. I don't know where to even go from here. So I just went in the bathroom, got a couple towels, just cleaned myself off as best as I could. Eventually I got my son changed, put back to bed. You would think, self, why don't you clean up and then go back to bed? I was so delirious and worn down, I forgot to go take a shower and or change all my clothes. I went back into bed with my wife. Go back to cuddling as you normally do, right? Never told my wife this, so she doesn't know what happened that night, and basically ruined our sheets and ruined her shirt and my shirt until the next day. I never told her that I had that happened. I just went back into bed, and then I threw everything in the hamper, cleaned it all up the next day, and she never knew. So, yeah, that was a good time. But I just had to get that off my shoulders there, my chest. It was a miserable time. It's going to happen to every parent. One time, they're just going to hit you with different things. So I thought it was funny. But make sure you try to either be sneaky like I am, or just clean up afterwards and take a shower. This one here, we're going to get into some fun now. When my firstborn was an absolute newborn, a couple days old, my wife left the house. I told her, get out of the house, just, go do something, so you could clear your mind and go shopping. So she went shopping with a family member. And I believe I was sitting there, and we had some casserole delivered the night before, so I went all in. I was like, yeah, baby, wife's not around. Let's do some damage on this casserole. So after a couple, bites of it, I'm like, oh, something does not agree with me. I was holding my sleeping son over my shoulder, and basically, if you put a sleeping baby down, sometimes they'll wake up, and now you're on duty, and you don't want them to wake up. And I'm sitting there like bellies around, like, oh, jeez, I gotta go. Long story short, I ended up holding my son over my shoulder while I went to the bathroom, let's just say. And if anyone's ever done that, you'll know I should be given an Olympic medal for my flexibility, I'll say, to get things done with one hand, and got the job done, and the baby never woke up. So that's another thing I had to just get off my chest and share. Boy, this one is going to be fun. So for this last one, I'll just preface by saying my 2-year-old is potty training. So he is now learning to not poop in his diaper. So a lot of times he will be pantless or diaperless and just walk around the house, and that way he'll tell us, and he'll go to the bathroom over in the potty that we have set up for him. And it's working out very well. So yeah, that's just the preface of the story. So a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, it was back in the summer, it was like August, my neighbor, they said, hey, can you get your pooper scooper? Your dog pooped in my my mulch bed here. I was like, oh, okay, cool, dude. I was like, oh, no problem. What he didn't know is that the day prior, my son had run inside and told me that he pooped outside. I was like, oh, good for you, buddy. And I went looking for it all around my yard for like a half hour. Could not find it. So I was like, I think he's just lying. But we also recently got a puppy. So I'm like, oh, puppies poop everywhere. Maybe it was that. But I am 100% positive my son, because afterward that it was my son that pooped in my neighbor's mulch bed. Simply being, I asked my son, did you poop over at their house? And he goes, yeah, I did. And like, he was proud. I was like, well, good job, buddy. So he was taking credit for it. So basically, my son pooped in a mulch bed, and I had to go over and pretend with my neighbor right there, like, oh, I had to keep a straight face, like, oh, it's just a standard pick up the dog poop out of the mulch bed with a plastic bag. I reached in a plastic bag and picked up my own son's poop. But my neighbor doesn't know that it was my son. He still thinks it was my little puppy. So I'm going to keep it that way unless he watches this video, in which case I'm going to jail. So as you can see, there's quite a few things that are going to happen as a new parent that you're not really going to be proud of, but they happen. So you just got to roll with the punches and kind of accept as they happen, and you're going to get through it. That's basically the what I've learned so far. So you got to laugh at things, you got to have fun, and you got to get things off your chest, right? So stay tuned for more, and hope you liked the video. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.